Hello all and welcome to my channel devopsmela. So in this video tutorial we'll talk about Azure Boards. So Azure DevOps is something getting very famous and it's widely used nowadays by the DevOps team. Okay, so Azure DevOps provides you a complete set of tools. Like we have build and development tools over there, we have boards, we have artifact storage, we have testing, everything. So that is what under one umbrella we find everything. So in this tutorial we'll cover Azure boards. So in Azure board there are multiple work item projects what you can create. So we'll focus on Agile methodology and we'll create a Agile project in Azure DevOps board. And I'll walk you through what are the options, what is the product backlog item, what is a backlog item, what is a user story, what is a bug, and how to track those things, and how to query your user story and the status, and many more. So we won't talk what exactly agile methodology would be or what is a Scrum methodology. It's altogether a different topic, but just for your understanding, just for the sake of this video, Agile method is an iterative based software development approach where the software project is broken down into various iterations. Okay. Each iteration has phases like waterfall model such as requirement gathering, design, development, testing and maintenance. The typical duration for each iteration is generally around 2 to 8 weeks, but depending upon project to project, these iteration dates can be minimized to maximized. Okay. So let's directly jump on to Azure DevOps hierarchy, work item hierarchy for Agile. Okay, so this is what Azure DevOps work item hierarchy would look like, wherein we have three important segments. Not important, I would be say the vital segments for tracking work, like the portfolio backlog. We have a backlog, then we have a issue and bug tracking. So this backlog will have two options, user story and task. This is an actual work what a developer does. So tracking that information, we create user stories and we create tasks. Okay. Portfolio backlog, we have epic and feature. So these two options are mainly for grouping work item for large scenarios. We'll take an example and we'll take a use case while demonstrating the entire thing. Then it will be more clear. Issue, if there's any issue, we create a issue, and if there's any bug, so we can create a bug, and we can track the bug and the issue. Okay, so let's directly jump on to Azure DevOps board. Okay, so we directly jump on to dev.azure.com because and we'll do a complete lab session starting from creating a Agile project. So once you log in, just click on new project, just name it as Agile project. Any description if you want to give, you can just give the descriptions. I'll keep the visibility as private. Advanced version control will use Git as my version control. There's one more version control as TFS, that is Team Foundation version control, but we'll stick with Git. Work item progress, it's an agile project what we are building, and so we want the work item process should be agile. Basic is a default. If you want to change it to agile, you can just select agile from here, and if you want to change the default option to agile, even that is possible. Okay, let's create a project. So once this project gets created, we have a repo gets created automatically, a team gets created automatically. So I'm the only member right now of this team, and if you go and look in the repos, we have the repos created. So we will directly jump onto boards. Again, we'll see the hierarchy which I just discussed. We'll see that hierarchy now. Okay, let's wait. It's too noisy out here. Just let me close all my windows. Okay, so let's click on this new work item. So whenever you want to create a new work item, This is a place from where you can come and create. There are multiple ways of creating new work item, but this is the simplest and the straightforward way I would suggest. Okay, so firstly we'll create an epic. Again, a epic, as I said, it's grouping of large scenario. So let's take an example of a sales app, sales login app. Okay, that's a sales application. Okay, this is a large scenario. So we have a sales application. Under sales application we could have multiple other scenarios. So this is a large scenario what I thought of, a sales app for uh, client log. uh, let's keep it as simple, sales app. Okay, if you want to assign to someone, you can just directly assign it from here. The state is new right now. The state would the state would change once we save the epic. This is the area where my project is. This is the project name. Iteration and all I will talk about when I'm setting a duration and when I'm moving my user story from one iteration to second iteration. This is where I'll talk about this more. Reasons, again, we'll have multiple options over here. For now we'll just select new. Description, again, this should have a detailed description what exactly the sales are and what are we doing in this epic, and those information will come over here. Discussion is more of, if you want to discuss something about this epic, you can put all the comments over here. Or if you want to like call out to someone like some developer or a scrum master or a product owner, you can just use a at sign, and the developer name or the scrum master or the member of the project will come over here. The members of the project name would reflect over here, and you can give kindly look into it. Okay, so this is how we can put our discussion. So there are multiple options over here. Priority, this is more of 1 2 3 4 priority. So if it's a critical epic which needs to be done within the first or second iteration, so we can select the priority. Risk, we have high, medium, low. So depending upon what is the risk, you can cover. Efforts, how many days it will take, like how many hours, and those efforts can be noted down over here. Business value, if it's like if you have any business value defined, that can be over here. Time critical, again, if it's a critical, you have selected a critical, so how critical it is, you can jot down the timings over here. Start date and end date, so we are not setting a start date and end date right over here. When we define a iteration, at that point of time we'll set a start and end date. Classification, we have it for business, value area is business, architectural, so we keep it as business. So this is how a typical epic page looks like. On the right hand side we have deployment. Deployment is nothing but when there's a build and release process running, and if you want to integrate that, we can link those directly over here. So all the status update, your build status, your release status, you get a quick glance at this particular location. Development, you can link your repository, your branches directly over here. Related work items, yes, this is an important. When we create a feature, user story and those things, we can directly start linking our works over here. Okay, let's save it. Okay, now if you see, we have multiple options now, whether this epic X started, active, resolve, close, removed. Okay, now if you see this is a history. So whatever changes we do to this epic, everything will get noted over here. So it's like a quick look if you want to see who has made the changes, who has updated the epic. Coming back to this is link. So whatever linking you do, like your branching, your your child feature, your user story, everything will be reflecting over here. Attachment, again, it's a very important part. If you want to attach any code base, if you want to attach any validation, any rollback, or any scripts related to this epic, or if you want to attach any architectural diagram or something like that, you can directly come and attach things over here. Okay, Okay, so this is all about Epic. Let's go back. So there's a second way of creating items, the work items. So we'll create a feature now. So feature is more of, it would be a child for this Epic. So the link type is child. So feature is something, a semi-large scenario, I would say. So let's consider as feature as login page for sales app. So we have a sales app, what we are module, what we are creating. Under that, my feature would be login page. There could be multiple features what we can create. So this is a typical scenario what we can think of. Okay. Again, the feature has the developer is already assigned to it, and if you want to change it to any other developer, or this is more, the feature is mostly created by a scrum master or the product owner. So they basically, this gets assigned to the product owner or the scrum master, and the developer gets assigned mostly to the user stories. So we'll talk about that, but from here, if you want to change it and if you want to assign it to someone else, you can easily do it. Okay. Again, we have the same options: description, discussion. So this description would be more about the login page, how the login page will look, what will be the design, what are the options and the fields we need on the login page. So that information would be rightly placed over here. Okay. Again, priority, risk, efforts, business value, start date, end date, everything can be defined from here. And we can link all our development deployment process over here. So deploy, once you link your development, and with that branch, if you have a pipeline running, so that will auto reflect over here. Okay. Related work, so we have a parent, it is linked to my Epic sales app. Again, history. Now if you see this link, it has one link. So because we have added my sales app as my parent, that's why it is reflecting as one. Let's quickly save and close. Okay. So if you come to work item, we have Epic created right now. Then we have a feature created. For this feature, we'll have one more. And now for this feature, we'll create a user story. Now user story, something will be assigned directly to a developer. Okay. And the developer is the one who would be working and developing this particular module. Okay. So the user story and task is something on, are the entities on which a developer works on. Okay. So what exactly, so this is a login page for a sales app. So what it could be, some, the user story would be something designing login page for sales app. So the first is designing a login page for a sales app, and we can assign to a developer. So this is something a scrum master would be assigning to a developer. Okay. And we can give a description, we can acceptance criteria. This is a new field which is added to this user story. So how, look, what will be the acceptance criteria? So like the login page should have below fields. I'm just giving an haywire example, like username, password, submit button. So these are the acceptance criteria for a login page. So based out of this, the login page would be created, and based out of this, the developer needs to design the login page for a sales app. Okay. And we can have a multiple tags. So over here we can have, this is for development, so we can have a dev tag as well. So this tagging is very important. So when you're doing a query, or if you want to highlight something, so this tagging we can use of these taggings. Okay. Now if you see over here, we have one more field, story points. Okay. Rest, priority, risk in the business area remains same. Everything remains same. The new field what we see is acceptance criteria and a story point. So story point is again very important. So a velocity graph and forecasting is done using the story point. The story point could be in hours or it could be number of days. So how many days will require to complete this designing of login page? So a developer will has to answer. Like for example, if I say three days, so this story point could be in hours also. It could be 3 hours. It could be in number of days. So it is something totally a discussion how you want to measure a story point. So typical example of story point would be number of days. So like example, the developer say I would take 5 days to design a login page. So I keep it as 5 as my story points. Okay. Now we can, there's nothing linked, but we want to link it to an existing work item. Okay. For 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 this, my parent would be the feature what we have just created. Okay. Login page for sales app. So this is a parent for this user story. Okay, so this is what a user story looks like. Like coming back to my work item, let's save this change first. Okay, so now we have a epic, we have a feature, now we have a user story. So this is how we break our backlogs. These two are my portfolio backlog, and this is an actual backlog on which the actual work would be done. Now a developer comes in and he wants to subdivide this designing page into more, so he can start creating tasks for himself. So this is something a developer would be doing, a task creation. A task is nothing but it's a small work what developer would be doing on daily basis. Like designing, like it would be like R&D, research and development. On the day one is doing a research and development on sales app login page. So this is a typical example what a developer would be doing. So on daily basis he would be jotting down whatever work he is doing and he'll start creating n number of tasks. Okay, so this is day one what he does. Again he creates one more task, like front end development, front end designing of sales app. Right? So this is the second task which he has assigned to himself. So this task would be basically created by a developer itself, wherein he will be creating multiple subtasks for doing his day in day out work. Rest, the portfolio backlog, the feature and everything would be the feature and the epic would everything would be created by a developer. Sorry, not by the developer, it would be mostly created by the scrum master or the product owner. And the user story mostly created by a scrum master itself, and developer would be creating n number of tasks to complete that user stories. So this is a typical how a user story would be created and n number of tasks would be created under it. Okay, so this is all about the work items. So we have multiple options over here. We have work item, we have boards, backlogs, sprints, and query. So let's have a look on those items as well. So if you go in boards, so the board is, if you look at this board looks more similar to a Kanban board. So yes, so Kanban board, this is not just similar, this is exactly a Kanban board what Microsoft has also integrated with Azure DevOps. Okay, so this starts horizontally from left to right. As soon as the user starts working on this user story, we can just come and drag this over in active. So the drag drop works. So if you see, the status has changed to active. So this will start keep moving as from active to resolve, from resolve to close. Okay, so this is how a typical Kanban board looks. So this will give you an overview of your entire work item. Your user story and task will get listed over here. So if you want to get like with which all user story is in active mode, you can come and check over here. What all user story are resolved, what all user story is closed, so everything. So it's a overall architect view of your user stories and your task. Okay. Now if you come back to backlogs, how your backlogs look. So your backlogs will have all your user story, all your task under it on the left hand side. On the right hand side, it has the planning where it will show all your iteration, because it's an agile project what we are working on. So we have iteration over here, iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3. So agile project is basically used for bigger projects. If you have a longer wherein it takes a longer iteration to complete any work. So basically at that point of time we switch to agile project. Okay. So as if now we have not set up the iteration dates, like what will be the iteration and how many weeks iteration we are following. So we have not done that setup. So if you wish to do that setup, come into project settings, come into project configuration. Okay, over here you can set a date for your agile project. Okay, let's give a typical date like today's date, and let's give a 3 to 4 months date. So we have this much of dates for this project. We have defined this much of dates, and let's set an iteration. So let's give a for now we'll give a 1 week iteration, like starting from today 27th, and we can take this till 6. Okay, so we have set up first iteration from 27 to 6, so it's a 5 days working for us. We'll show you where exactly that is defined. So as of now we have set an iteration dates now. So if you see over here, we have a 5 days working. We don't consider Saturday, Sunday, but if you want to consider Saturday, Sunday also, go in this configuration team settings. Over here we have an option called working days. So by default Saturday, Sunday is removed. Okay, so the working day is only Monday to Friday, but if you want to change it, you can come and change it from here. Okay, one important part, in which iteration do you want to complete this user story? So even that can be defined. So we can just simply drag drop. So I'll just put it in my first iteration that this particular task, designing login page for the sales app, would be taken care in the first iteration. So easily drag and drop works over here. Sprint. Those sprints has a similar type of visibility. So at the first page it will looks like a Kanban board to you, wherein you have a user story and you have 2 tasks, and so this is more of a task board. In backlog we'll have again the same page wherein we can see all the backlogs in one single place. Capacity, if you want to define what the developer would be doing, like how many days the developer needs to focus on deployment, how many days the developer needs to focus on designing, development, testing, and requirement. So all those capacity per day you can define it for your team. Analytics, yeah, I'm just not making any changes to this page, so I'll leave it. Analytics will give you an overview. So like whenever you have a scrum meeting or scrum call or a meeting with your product owner or client, so this is the burn down chart which will give you an immense insight, like what exactly was done in this week, what are the number of tasks was covered, and those, so everything, as soon as you start filling up your work items and your boards, you will see a bit of value over here. For now we just have 2 items and we have not even given an estimate. Okay, so this is how a burn down chart looks. And the last option what we have, it is queries. Queries is more of a SQL query what you run. Okay, so this is if you want to query out a user story, or if you want to query out the status, the active status, because you might have 100 of user story, and going and looking in work items and board, it would be a bit difficult. So if you want to see how many stories are active, how many stories are like closed, so you can come and add fields over here. Like see, if we see active, and if I run this query, so I have one user story which is inactive right now. So you can add number of clause, and an or clause. and or clause which you can use. There are n number of fields you can select from. There are operators equal to, and there are operators less than equal to, greater than equal to, all those operators which you can use, and the value. Okay, so this is how a typical agile project will look like. So whenever you create an agile project, this is how it will look like. The difference would be we'll have iteration over here. So in my next video I would be creating a scrum project. Okay, we'll see what exactly the difference between agile and the scrum project, and where do we when exactly we use agile and when do we use a scrum project. Okay, so if you guys like this video, please share and subscribe, and put down in comments what exactly do you like and what additional things you want me to add. Okay, and one important news, we started with online trainings also. If you guys are interested, please check my description box for more information. Thank you. Keep supporting.